Morning, everybody, and welcome to Mystics MMOs. I'm your host, Mystic Raven. All right, so today, I didn't get to do it yesterday. I had a lot of personal things to do in life, real life stuff. But today, this morning, I'm going to be going over the shield system in DCUO. Now, it's kind of important because I was kind of testing a few things, swapping in and out things, and trying to get the tooltip to reflect how the tooltip was reflected to the calculation. I'm not going to get into all the numbers. I'm just going to keep it simple for explanation purposes. But we're going to take a look at the shield system. And the first thing I want to go ahead and do, now keep in mind I'm in a DPS. I'm in tank loadout with DPS gear on. That's kind of important to initially disclose because we're going to be taking a look at 3 different shield systems in comparison throughout this demonstration and kind of relay what's going on, how much of a beating a shield can take. I'll attempt to do that in this video, and we'll see what's up. So, first one is the electron fence. Now, I'm on atomic, but keep in mind this will be applied to pretty much your tanks across the board, depending on their, class or their power set shield system. So we have, no, that's not it. 1 second. Okay, yeah. Right here. It's a power cost. Critical loss of free. Your body continues to radiate for a short time, damaging nearby enemies. There's a shield system. I'm trying to find it. It's neutron blast. Density. Okay, there it is. Okay. It's like, wait a minute, something's wrong. That's not the shield. Okay, so density. Density has a tooltip. Now, in parentheses here, you will see your tooltip, right? So we have a 3,552 tooltip. Coming over to the Amazon deflection, which is another shield system, you'll see the increase in the tooltip, 5,328. This is power cost or whatever. And then of associated 5,328. Power cost, right? So you see these two in reflective, how the scaling goes. I'm just showing this for scaling purposes. So you see the difference between the cost to the effectiveness. All right. Okay. Now, of how it scales. I'm just showing this for scaling purposes. Like 300 parentheses 5.3. So how things have been scaling. Now, kind of interesting because I have DPS gear on. Okay, so I want to show you guys this. And I'm going to put on now tank gear. Just switching out gear. Okay, that's all I'm doing right there. I just switched out the tank gear. Okay. Now we're going to go back. So we see we got an increase. 4,444. 6,666. I was a little weirded out when I saw it too. And then we have the hard light shield, which is 6,666, right? So these is the tooltip adjustments due to what? Gear. So it was kind of interesting. I was like, well, that's interesting. Right there alone is kind of interesting. But let's like hypothetically say we take even some of my DPS gear. So let's just take 4 pieces. Say we have half tank gear or half DPS gear. How's our adjustment, our adjusted values? we see the adjusted value, right? 4001, 61, and then we see 61. So there is an adjustment tooltip based on what? Gear, right? Interesting enough as well, if I were to take this off, go back into tooltip, because that's a DOM piece, we see no reflection. We see no reflection in the tooltip. Okay, just by a simple artifact slot. And let's even go a little further, and we're going to take off our augments. And we see no reflection on the tooltip due to augmentation. So gear parameter definitely apparent. Augmentations and artifact applications nil. All right. So that leaves the one other question is skill points. Is skill points relative to scaling? Well, you know, it's a pretty good question. Let's find out. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to increase my dominance. So let's go ahead and put 100 points starting off. I'll just make it easy. I can do that on PC. Okay. Now we're going to go into the loadout yet again. And now we still don't see a reflection even to see SP. So it was kind of interesting. I was like, this is interesting, because indications would dictate, but as you guys can see, no reflection to tooltip, even though stats have been adjusted, right? So it's kind of interesting. I was like, okay, so now what I want to go ahead and do, we're going to take we're going to put this in a combat log. It's kind of important for me to do this for my test. And I'm going to go to Titan Island, and I'm going to get smacked around by the robot as I'm going to use the shields, right? So I'm going to use one, run, stack, run, all sorts of stuff. So, because I don't have a metric system that I can pop up, so I have to manually use the combat system to reflect, damage, absorb, and spill over. So it's kind of like, okay. I'll do one when I shield with no block, shield to block, make sure that we have a proper spillover indicated into everything. Okay. Of course I have to do this little part. I wish I could skip this. But it was kind of interesting because I was like, okay, well, this is kind of interesting given the fact that our dominance hits 11.536. And if I were to, let's say, switch out, right, we see the drop in dominance, right? We see it. So, like I said, I'm going to be, but tooltip indication to power is relative to scaling. So, reflective tooltip to scaling for gear is prominent. But how much the shield will absorb is kind of questionable at this point to say, oh my gosh, you know, this is working. And actually, I don't know if it is. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out. I'm going to come back in. because I have to reset this. I do enjoy seeing some of these loading screens, conceptual art and stuff, and I really enjoy this. Okay, definitely not what I anticipated coming back to my home. I thought I would go back to the Hall of Doom, but that's fine. I'll just teleport to the Hall of Doom, manually load in. It's fine. It's fine. Yo, Jack, what's up, brother? So, one of my viewers had asked, can I check this out? And I was like, yeah, actually, I'm kind of interested in seeing this effect applied. How much damage will I absorb on each shield system? Initially, how's the scaling system look statistically? Statistically, from the stat point, it changes. But what I noticed right from the rip was augmentations didn't adjust the power, the parentheses within the power. And I was like, well, if everything's based on statting from gear, why wouldn't it have had applied to augmentations? I got the internship at a leading hospitality marketing company. The team consists of all girls. Oh, well, congratulations, brother. At least you got it, man. Congratulations. See, I told you, man. You got to have faith. Okay, so first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to engage. I'm going to throw up the shield system. So we see that I got a, I ended up getting a tooltip proc. So we're going to back out. We're going to back the hell away from this thing. Okay. Now, when I go into here, we're going to see Amazon deflection was 8,473. But I had a spillover damage occur. See, initial was 10. Flexion, and then a spillover occurred of 3,016 without a block. Now, we did the deflection. Now we're going to do the hard light. What we want to see is a consistency. How much each shield can absorb. So we have 8,473. Shield still holding. We're going to use density. Okay, and then I died. So now we're going to take a look at some of these new tooltips or combat log tooltip. So we're going to take a look at some of the combat log now. All right, now melee attack, melee attack. Okay. Okay. Imagine. All right. I need not to attack. Let's check it out again. We got the one, which was 8,004. So hit 6. All right. So we had a little bit of a spillover of 2003, and the rest was absorbed, was not taken into consideration. Yeah, that looks good. That's what I want to see. But we have a block associated with the Amazon deflection that's applied. But we see a lot of damage deflected. Five, 8, 5, 6, 5, 9. Then 8, 1. Critically, deflection, critical, damaged. Deflection, 5, 8, 5, 9. Deflection is a really good shield system. Alright, so we're going to do the shield, the other one, the hard light. Okay, now the shield's gone, so I'm going to pull back. See if we got anything to register on tooltip. So nothing is registering in the tooltip, which is interesting. The only reason deflection is because of the block associated. Or, and not the tooltip, but into the combat log. So damage reduction. Okay. So we're going to have to do this from a manual standpoint of how much I took on the last hit versus. So 9, 3 absorbed, 4 absorbed, 4, 1. Okay. So it's kind of interesting how this is working. So let's go ahead and we're gonna there it is, 5, 5. But why isn't it coming in? So we see it in the parentheses. Like we see it in parentheses. There's an indication within the parentheses, but it's not reflected in combat log. 444. 14. That's a lot. I'm dying for metrics. Okay, that was pretty good. That was a really good indication. So 3 hits, and I would have to rewind this, but 3 hits for well over, what, at least close to 30. There was like a 5, and a 14 from the critical absorbed. And then, of course, anything off when the shield expires, a little bit of that spillover is being applied. I wish more companies would, if they're not going to have a metric system, and DCUO doesn't have a metric system associated, would give a clear indication. So now, is there going to be a difference about how much is absorbed? 10. 3, 3, 1. That's a lot of shields. See, that one didn't proc. So we had a miss proc on the laser, or either that or it goes completely through. That laser goes completely through shield system. I'm dying. I want metrics. God dang it. I want a metrics. Allow me to. Frig, just. They would allow them. They won't. They said they'll never allow it. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, come on, come on. 10. 1, 9, 8. Now, I'm going to disengage, and I'm going to put it back on my DPS gear to see if it can still hold as much damage. And it's hard for me to reflect on this without a proper system to backtrack through. Now this is what I would call a suicide effect, a suicide attempt. Okay. Don't do this at home, kids. Alright, alright. Eight. Okay, what's nice about this 10, it's holding up the same. So our shield system is applying the spillover when it expires, which is intended, but we're seeing no relative difference. In tooltip. Well, he's mad with me. Now Amazonian deflection is working. Now see there, like some of it's coming up and some of it isn't. So we got to register on combat log right there. Like, why is it not registering? It's registering block, but not damage absorbed. So these are blocks. Deflection. See, it's registering one aspect. Applied. But why? I mean, I'm going to try just block. Why is it not registering the other? Like, you can see the shield absorbing the damage within the parentheses. Okay. So our block is working as intended. Block reduces damage by half. That's good. So we're still able to take damage. So we're seeing that reflected between block and not blocking. I'm a glutton for punishment. But we're not seeing the other shields reflected. Seven. Now when I throw up, that was weird. So once you initiate an attack after activation, it ceases? Why? Looks like the block drops. God gives me a friggin' metric system. As long as I don't touch any, there's that. That's holding pretty good. Nice. Yeah, shield systems look really good. It's working. We get the little spillover tick after after a set effect ends, which is what you could see, like the difference of that little tick difference in the number when it hits. So I could see the spillover, which is a good indication that at least spillover has been applied when one shield is within, and meaning if I'm stacking shields, it's not, the priority's still set. Problem I'm having is I'm getting no direct indication of the amount of damage absorbed other than the initial parentheses, which is not reflected in combat log, which it should be. We should see a reflection. They should implement absorb and not just block indication. Block indication's automatic, and that's why it's prompting in the Amazonian deflection shield only, because it's applied block, but nothing else. We see it right there. See it, but you won't see it anything else. So what just happened? Let me explain this. All right. All right. So, from my understanding, how this shield system is working is it's deflecting the entire throughout the entire duration. The way it looks to me. The strength of the shield is applied by the Dom or the restoration, but both of them neither have the effect that in the tooltip that it's indicating. So basically I can scale Dom, Resto, or the 2, but it's not plus, because no matter if I try to scale up Resto higher, there's no indication from that. So as you guys can see, as the shield holds, no damage is applied. We all see boom, 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 and then it dissipates. Now, certain effects will go through. I think the shield that's exactly what happened there. Or the block, I guess I should say, because that's more of a block. The Amazon, even though it says shield, it's more definitely block, like more of an auto block. But the hard light shield is very impressive. Hard light shield is way impressive, in my opinion. So let's use density. We see it. We see it. Now we're on block. We throw up. Should be blocking pretty much everything but the I-beam. See? Okay, and that is just DPS gear. I'm not even in tank gear. So we're going to go back to tank gear real quick. And what I think is actually happening with the shields, it's not being affected by the stats that it's supposed to be affected by. That's just DPS gear. Mind you, I do not have tank gear on. Alright, so now we have tank gear on. We have our tank gear back on. So let's see if there's a huge difference in our effectiveness. And in the back of my mind, absolutely not. No. The Dom isn't okay. So we'll do it again. And it would really help that if I had a metrics. But between tank gear, the shield's going to hold for the duration. Right? We have spillover, which is a good thing. Why does everybody always fuck up shields? $10. Now block should be, yeah. Block is affected by your gear score. So I can see that. Shields? I don't think so. Five, 7, 9, 8 damage. So it's kind of interesting, man. Could be me, but let's do it. Let's do a count. Let's even see if it affects duration, even. But I doubt it. I think that's a standard. Yeah. I mean, it's noticeable. Shielding, having a shield system is noticeable. Parentheses is noticeable. I'm going to have to review this and look at the parentheses in more detail. But I don't think there's, you know, any indication that's actually making the damage, like the shield stronger or reducing the amount of damage done to the shield. So... gonna keep dying. So let me put back on my DPS gear and we'll check this out one more time, because honestly I would be, yo real, what's up, man? I feel like there's, like I said, I don't have a full end up metrics, so I have to go by observation standpoint of what I'm seeing, the parentheses proccing and these type of things. It sucks, to say the least. But it's relative. My health goes down, my dom is down. My dominance is down. I'm well above yeah. And this is why tanks do such a job in PvP. Alright. Why are shield systems always fucked in games? Never scaled right. Something's always wrong. Okay. So let's go over this and let's go by my initial observation. Now this could be somewhat wrong. I mean, maybe. I don't have a clear-cut form of metrics, but I'm going by experience and initial observation. There's a reason why PvP is kind of messed up in this game, and it's usually what I like to call faux tanks. It's real. They're called faux tanks. And I call them faux tanks because of the class's initial shield system on top of being able to use, you know, its dominance, right? To put in the tank mode and then use CC, applied CC effects, right? But being in DPS gear like I am now. This is what you typically can see or anticipate from PvP peers in this game. Shield system isn't scaling properly due to the indication of this. So shield would indicate that we'd had a base modifier of 112.5 plus the restoration. 112 5 restoration and plus 150% dominance. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. That isn't happening. That is not happening at fucking all. Even in with low end application, am I being scaled up? That could be another issue too. No, it's accurate. Okay. I was about to say, I should not be scaled up. And I'm not. Alright. But the shield system, right? We get the modifiers due to the class for, all this stuff for modifiers. But this is 8,043 in DPS gear. In DPS gear. And I was seeing that with the augmentations. It never fails, man. I swear. I promise. Now when I go back, I went from 8 to 11. Now if it was true about the multiplier, how the multiplier be effective. Now, I'm not saying, whatever. All I'm pointing out the obvious. The shields aren't being scaled by any multiplier. None. It's basically a scaled effect that's applied to more like rounded CR effect. As long as the shields hold, right? Its effectiveness is there. I mean, it's true. Like, if I'm a low E and I end up, my shield could just pop in one hit, right? That's true. That's absolutely true. Because there is a reflective, but it's not per... I feel like what it is it's reading wrong. I guess I shouldn't say it's not right. It's reading wrong. It should be a plus 150%. What it is it's a rounded of 150% of. So it's a rounded effect. It's like it's scaled to more CR application. But duration, my Dom could be shit though, and it's still holding. It's still as effective in DPS role and DPS gear as it is in tank gear. It's still as effective, and that's what I've done today. Like, I could be a DPS gear and still be effective, right? Now let me go ahead and we'll switch out to this roll. We'll switch the loadout of the damage roll to the shield system. Now maybe this could be reflected. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anymore. Why do I care? So let's reverse the effect. Let's say we're in a DPS roll. Now that does affect somewhat of the modifier. And it's still... Dude hit me for 11k. Look. Now, the nice thing is spillover applies when the damage expires. So I'm going to give it up to that for that reason. At least priority is set, spillover is applied, but the problem of it is the effectiveness of the shield isn't indicated by the tooltip, what the tooltip is suggesting. So literally we have a system, which scaling system is more rounded to the whole, like massive numbers, and is irrelevant to the role in which the dominance is prevailing in, or the restoration, or both. Because in DPS gear or DPS role or both, we still have the affected applied the same same applied effect, which is whacked. It's whacked. And you can never, ever, ever, ever anticipate. At least, you know, I don't know. It's always a shield system somewhere. I've only seen like maybe a couple games get it right. Look at that. Look at that. I'm in DPS gear and DPS mode. Okay. Now, it is important to understand that defense is reflective. That's why I keep getting burned down faster after my shields go down. Because the defense is working from the tank gear. Block reduction is working as intended by half of the damage. And that is reflected to defense. So the higher your defensive rating, the less damage you take. So defense is working as intended. And we can see that in block and off of shield drop, how much damage we're taking in combat. That's fine. That's working. This part is not working. This part is not working. Okay. Now, healing, I know is the effective heals will scale from restoration and dominance. As a healer, I'm aware of, and as a tank, I'm aware that this is working as intended. But the shield system, as I showed, I could be in DPS and I'm still in, I have less dominance by thousands of points. And I'm still getting as effective shields. Now, the shields are very good in this game as far as, you know, survivability. Problem of it is when we look at PvP, it doesn't stop me from going in as DPS and having effective shields on no matter what role I'm in. It doesn't matter what role I'm in. It has no bearing on that whatsoever. So I could literally be DPS. My shields will be just as strong in DPS as it is in tank. My shields will be just as strong in healer as it is as a tank. My shields could be just as strong as a troller who has little to no dominance than a tank. And that's a little scary, right? That's a little problematic that the multiplier isn't effective at all. So it's like, it's depressing. So my recommendation, would I use shields on a tank? Well, shit, I use shields on everything. If I'm melee, I'm using a shield. If I'm in a raid, I use a shield. If I'm tanking, you best believe I at least maybe have 2 different shields. Why? Because of the effectiveness of, you know, if I'm in between a block as a tank, it's very important. Block mitigation is huge. So we know that the block mitigation reduces half the damage, right? We know this. Damage still is applied, and we know that we're still going to take it. We're still going to like, take it. And it's going to be reduced by half. Add the defense to it, and that further reduces the upfront damage, cutting that in half as well. So defensive aspect, fine. But when we take a look at any other application to mitigation, that is completely like not working as intended. So yes, is it broke? Absolutely. It's absolutely broke. It's I mean, as well as polished as this game, you're always going to have some system. Now, is it a problem for stacking like we had in Elder Scrolls? No, because we have applied global cooldowns, which keeps priority, so spillover occurs. Okay, so once the shield depletes, let's say the shield takes one last hit. Now, what I'm noticing, the duration of the shield, the shield is more based on duration than hit points. So most shields have a hitbox, right? of how much damage it should absorb. Unfortunately, this shield could absorb. You could literally absorb 50,000 damage, right? And if the shield's still holding, it's still taking. You're still taking it. You're still like, hey, this shield's still here. Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what I was trying to, get to. It's like, well, when's this shield gonna break? And it seems to be breaking only by duration. So that's the problem, in my opinion. It's not affected by the hit points. It's actually affected by the duration. Now, that did seem like the duration was working a little bit better for the class shield. But Hard Light has a very... God. Hard Light... It could be isolated. It could be isolated to Hard Light shield only. I really wish I had a reflected combat log. Nah. Hard Light shield is OP as fuck. Yeah, there it is. That was perfect. So spillover looks good. And it does look like it could be isolated. Now I'm going to check out. I'm going to switch the roles. I'm going to put on my tank gear. And we'll make sure. We'll absolutely make 100% sure that that's the case. But I'm thinking that this could be an isolated. Maybe this is an isolated incident. Reflected to Hard Light only. It's fucked. Alright. So let's go in. Yep. Yeah, I think it is. I think we have an isolated incident. Because that was way more noticeable. So we had a more effective response due to the tooltips application with class roll, but with Hard Light irrelevant. Oh my god. Oh my god. Why do I do these things? Yep. So, completely isolated. Yep. It's isolated. Alright. So that's good to know. Good morning, Mystic. Listen, listening to you on the way to work. Thanks for making a stream testing the shield system. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it, man. So we have an isolated incident. So let's recap, review. Class-based shields are applied by said tooltip, right? So we have class-based shields working as intended to tooltip, right? Meaning the strength's based on Dom. Cool. Iconic shields. Wow. Iconic shields aren't rendering to tooltip, especially Hard Light. And I feel the problem is definitely noticeable due to potentially. Now let me explain this. Now you see the same applied effect. Actually, even in the power cost scaling, we see a lower effect. 10% of control resistance, which whatever. At least this can be utilized during CC. That's why I do like class-based. See, these cannot be utilized through CC. Iconic shields cannot be utilized through a CC. Class-based shields, majority of them, I'm not sure if all of them would apply, can be activated upon CC. Counterplay. This game's really good at counterplay in that essence. But when we're taking a look at the effectiveness to roll based on scaling, it's nil. It's not applicable. Meaning I could be in DPS, I could be anything, and hard light is just OP as fuck. It is OP. Hard light shield is, I mean, it's no problem with at least the spillover. Spillover is applied. GCD works as intended. You can't exploit it to the point where you're going to completely negate 100% damage. But when we take a look, like, I don't have to block during the hard light application at all. There's no need to do it. Like, literally, the hard light shield gives me complete enough time to do whatever I want to do. And then go from one thing. Now I'm shield stacked. The one drops. Once the shields drop, then I'm forced to do my block to reduce the damage by half. And look, saved by the shield. There you go, boys and girls. There you go. I always do like that little red thing that comes up. I'm dying, no. Okay, so important lesson learned today. Hard light shield is not listening to the rules set by the devs. Bad hard light shield. Bad hard light shield. Class-based shields are. So class-based shields, fine. It seems fine. I'll have to test this on another tank class in the near future. But class-based shields are applying to tooltip. From tooltip rule. Hard light is ignoring any scaling system whatsoever. It is completely based on duration. It's completely, there's no amount of health applied. What's the, how many hits, how many licks can a hard light shield take? As many as the duration will allow it. But class-based is relative. Amazon deflection has an upfront shield that is on top of block. So that's, you know, it's not as powerful. It's nice because you have the auto block applied, right? So you see all of this, the shield will register for the deflection. And now you're in block. So the auto block is a nice feature. It's not as strong as like the hard light. The hard light's ridiculous. Look, oh my God. Hard light shield is literally probably the most OP I've seen. The shit. I mean, I wasn't aware. I mean, I knew how reliable hard light was, but honestly, it's ridiculously OP. So, hard light shield, man. Go hard light shield. Go hard light shield. God. So isolated incident. So we have an isolated incident applied to the hard light shield, which does not render off of any tooltip. Class-based shield should render from tooltip application. Amazonian shield, it's a hard call to because block is applied, and I have no accurate aspect into combat log or metrics to determine the difference between any of the shield system, because we see the power scaling flux in tooltip, right? So we see the increased value in tooltip to power. So you would assume that that would apply to stat increase to also durability. Unfortunately, we can't associate the two because Iconic Shield is not, listening to that rule. Iconic Shields are saying we are a separate entity of how the scaling system works. And as far as shielding, now damage, it does typically apply. I can't necessarily verify that, but we had the same effect with mainframes with Apprentice and such. As Apprentice, damage was further reduced to keep up with scaling effects, and that was a problem we've seen multiple times and still is the case. So I would have to say the devs should be applying the scaling effect to the Iconic Shields. This is relative to gear. This is relative to statting. It looks like class base is effective by the rule. It is. I go for DPS, a lot less effective. Go to DPS gear, a lot less effective. Dominance, restoration, scaling is applied. It's apparent now to me. But why wasn't hard light and what Amazonian deflection is a hard one because of the auto block. It's a hard one to read. But hard light shield apparently broke as fuck. OP as fuck. Priority still set, so good. Spillover still applies, so good. So we have two elements that still apply to at least fundamental shield application, though hard light is just not grabbing the rule and it's being stubborn. It's being like, I last 30 seconds and you shall have that protection regardless of how much damage is going to be thrown at your ass. 1 million damage could come this way and I will not let you fall. Thank you, Hard Light Shield. I appreciate that. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If I PvP anytime in the near future again in this game, I know no matter what class I'm rolling with, best believe my ass is holding onto a hard light shield. I mean, holy shit. Now, I don't know how long. You would think the duration would be effective. So, in my opinion, how do you fix hard light shield? Simple. You add if you're not going to put a health cap on it, right? Because of the way it scales, put a duration based on dominance. So the further and with hard capping it, so we have a cooldown of 30 seconds. Dom can apply a max hard cap of 20 seconds, so we can utilize a scaling system based on those parameters. But the problem of it is, by doing that, sooner or later the Dom is going to overrule. You'd have to implement a hard cap. You'd have to, because to do that, I just honestly think the easiest way to fix this is apply a health to the shield system, based on Dom, how effective the shield is, how much hits the shield can take based on the same aspect as the class based shield systems or the power set shield systems. But yeah, hard light. Wow. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you guys go, and then I'm gonna take a break, and then I'll be back, and I'm gonna jump into regular server. So yeah, I hope this helps. It might not, but, you know, at least we went there. At least we went there. All right, I'm Mystic Raven. This is Mystics MMOs. Thank you guys for watching, and once again and always, have a nice day.